Hey, it is Wednesday, my dudes, and you are watching The Sweat presented by DraftKings. I am Emerson Lottie, rolling solo once again today. What do we have coming up? The Gojo Gang will join us. Why Brandon Newman has become the latest trailblazer to overtake the planet. Hey, Waffle House peeps, you're going to love this one. Jeff and Len are here to explain why, yes, it's a weaker PGA Tour field at the Honda Classic, but this offers you a great opportunity to make some serious DFS cash. Plus, Nick Friar with a new haircut in studio to share some second half NBA bets that he really likes that look really tasty on the DK Sportsbook. Speaking of tasty, manly, meaty, Jared Carabas in the house with us today as we're getting the show started with the takeoff. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Emerson. I've never been described as tasty before, but I appreciate the sentiment.
Yes, you're very welcome. What'd you do this off season? I haven't seen you in person in a while. I know you've been busy doing a bunch of stuff.
I bought a house. I'm building a podcast studio in here. I'm building a gym in here. It's a whole thing. It's a complex. You're more than invited to come over and get a pump in. We can do a podcast together. It's a whole thing.
Okay, what was the first equipment you purchased for your gym?
Surprisingly, there is, and I know people are going to be asking this question, so I have the answer for you. There's leg equipment in there. There is. 2023 is the year of the legs. I'm not going to say it's only the year of the legs. Like, I'm obviously going to be doing other things as well, but there is leg equipment in this gym. There is.
Dude, I'm a huge leg guy, which you have seen in person.
Mm-hmm.
If you
wear shorts when it's like 30 degrees out.
Because you can when your legs are that meaty, Jared, and you will soon discover that with all that leg equipment. Mm-hmm. You know who's got some meaty legs on them? All your boys on the Red Sox, dude. So right now, win total sitting at 77.5 on the DK Sportsbook. Which direction you going, over or under? Go ahead and just tell me why you're going over.
Well, because the Red Sox are better than 77.5 wins, Emerson. I mean, I feel like this is a Red Sox team that people are down on because they finished in last place last year. John Henry made this point, I think, yesterday, the day before. He said, if you finish 500 in this division, you're in last place. So the Red Sox essentially were a third-place team in any other division in the sport, but they're in last place because they're in the American League East. It's the best division in baseball. So, yes, they finished in last. Were they a last-place team? No. Do I think that they got better? In some areas, yeah. Like, the bullpen's better. The rotation is a big-time what-if. Like, there are a lot of what-ifs going around. Either it's a health what-if, or it's someone like Brian Bayo, who is his first full season, a Garrett Whitlock, his first full season in the rotation, Tristan Casas, his first full season. So there's a lot of what-ifs going around, but I think where the Red Sox, I don't want to say that they made a mistake, but where they're risking it, it's a big-time risk here, is there's a lot of what-ifs all around the diamond. But that's not to say that things can't work out. Things in 2021, they worked out. They ended up 2 games shy of the World Series. Last year, there were a lot of what-ifs, and they finished in last place. It can go one way or the other.
For sure. It'll certainly be a different looking group. Which of the newcomers right now are you most excited to see? All right, so what do you got? You got like Yoshida in there, like Duvall, Kluber, Jansen, just to name like a few of them.
I think the answer has to be Yoshida. Like, that's a guy
That's a big what-if. That's a big what-if, right?
It is a big what-if, but the projections love the guy. Like,
awesome.
the projections for Yoshida have him as a quite above average player. But projections aren't always correct. I think that there's going to be an adjustment period for him. He spoke yesterday saying he thinks that pitchers are going to end up challenging him a lot, and he can handle the fastball. That was one of the first things that, when you're looking at an international baseball player, what are the skill sets that will translate to the big leagues from somewhere like Japan? Well, it's going to be the strike zone awareness. It's going to be the plate patience, and it's going to be, can he handle high velocity? Because you're going to see a lot of that in the big leagues, and he can handle the high velocity. So if you're going to challenge Yoshida, you better hit your spot, because he can handle the high velocity.
Is that who you're most excited about, like fantasy-wise, besides Rafael Devers, like his potential?
Yeah, I think because if you look at what Xander Bogaerts did last year, I think he was like a 136 weighted runs created plus, and they've got Yoshida at like 140, 141. So essentially what they're telling us is that this guy has the ability to be a better offensive player this year than Xander Bogaerts was last year, which is pretty exciting. But if you listen to Alex Cora talk, a guy like Alex Verdugo shows up to camp. He's leaner. He's more athletic. I think it's almost similar to what happened with Andrew Benintendi, where he came in and he bulked up and he wanted to hit more home runs. Well, the Red Sox were like, listen, you're a contact hitter. You put the ball in play, just hit doubles, just get on base, just be you. And he did that just in Kansas City. He did it for another organization and then turned that into a 5-year deal with the Chicago White Sox. Alex Cora talked about Alex Verdugo saying, listen, we don't need you to go out there and hit 35 home runs. You're a guy that can hit 40, 50 doubles. And I think Alex Verdugo understands the assignment. He showed up in better shape. You heard him talk about last year. He had a broken foot for the first 2 months of the season. I think he's also kind of growing into that role of, I'm not the new guy around here anymore. Not to say that it's his team, but because of all the turnover, he is one of the longer tenured players on the Boston Red Sox right now. So I think that he's growing into that role, getting more comfortable, plus also taking the, I guess it is criticism from Alex Cora, because at the end of the season last year, Alex Cora was asked point blank, coming into next year, who needs to show the most improvement? And he didn't even say, oh, this guy, like, we need to improve in this area defensively. He was just like, Verdugo. Mm-hmm. He called him out. And I think that Verdugo took that to heart. And instead of getting discouraged about it, I think he put in the work this offseason. So I'm pretty excited to see how that translates to the regular season.
How'd you like those picks that he was taking yesterday? Were those for like the program, like for the team website? Icy, man. Like he had just diamonds all over his body.
Yeah, I'm sure that upset the older generation of baseball fans. Oh, yeah,
forget those. They're the ones who hate bat flips and hate having fun and all that stuff. Forget those guys.
Yeah, I mean, like it's we're getting to a point now where baseball players are allowed to express themselves and be awesome. Who they are. I mean, you got Tristan Casas wearing the red nail polish over there, which I'm gonna do, by the way. I don't know if we're gonna do that on the sweat. I'll come into the studio. Maybe we can do a whole segment while we're painting our nails. I'm down for that. I'm down to paint my nails. Trust me, I've been down with the cause since day one, because I don't know if you remember this. In 2018, when Chris Sale went on the injured list, and people were like, what happened to him? And he said he got his belly button pierced and it got infected. Guess who went out and got their belly button pierced? Me. Mm-hmm. Team player. I've always been a team player. I've always been a team guy.
Yeah, so Durgan, producer Durgan, Scott Mayer, we do have plans to do something like that. Also, big taking care of nails guy. Go to Mini Lux, like a block away from here. They're fantastic. They treat me well. So the Sox win 78 games last year, Jared. Odds makers expecting similar number this upcoming season, as we've discussed already. They also expect the Houston Astros to win the World Series again, win the AL West again, win just the American League again. Which of the other teams in that division, dude, can challenge Houston for the crown?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the Rangers adding Jacob deGrom, they're adding names. They spent $500 million the offseason prior to signing Jacob deGrom. I don't think that they're ready to be a legitimate threat quite yet. The Seattle Mariners, they finally got a taste of postseason play after 2 decades of sitting on the sidelines. Like these, I mean, I don't even want to put the Rangers in the same category as the Mariners. I think the Mariners can definitely get back to the postseason. There's not a team in that division. I haven't even mentioned the Angels. I don't think that they have a shot either, but there's no team that's really capable of even sneaking up on the Houston Astros. They're just that good. Like we're talking about who can challenge them to. The Houston Astros have essentially become the New England Patriots, where you can pencil them in for the league championship game every single year. Like I don't see a team that's going to stop them from at least getting to the ALCS again, which would be what, the 7th straight year?
Yeah,
it's every year since 2017. So do that math.
Okay.
I don't see a team that's going to be able to stop them from doing that, especially not from within their own division.
I mean, they lose Cy Young winner Justin Verlander to the Mets, right? But they got plenty of depth, I feel like, in that starting rotation. Correct me if I'm wrong. And then Gurriel, they let him walk, but they replaced him with Jose Abreu. How does Dallas Braden feel about the A's being plus 20,000 in that division?
I feel like if you were to ask him about the odds for the Oakland A's, that he might be a little bit more optimistic than plus 20,000. Okay. But I'm surprised it's not plus 50,000 if we're being honest.
All right. Sounds good. How surprised were you with Jeremy Pena looking as absolutely jacked and ripped as he does, man. As you saw you tweeting this out, so he's a 25-year-old man, jacked out of his mind. You compared him on Twitter to an extremely muscular horse. Not the only young stud in that division, as we know. Julio Rodriguez is in there playing for the Mariners. Both these guys, breakout years last season. All right, give me someone in that division you expect to have a great year, Jared, and either compete for an award or become this fantasy stud out there. Because people right now are starting to focus on their season-long lineups and also what they're going to do in DFS.
Yeah, so I think that if someone were to win the American League MVP from the Houston Astros, I think a lot of people would go in the direction of a Yordan Alvarez, maybe an Alex Bregman, Jeremy Pena getting a lot of love. But one of the unsung heroes of that team, who is also an unsung hero throughout the postseason for them, Kyle Tucker. Love Kyle Tucker as a player. I think that anytime you talk about the Houston Astros, you're talking about the MVP award because you know you're going to look up at the end of the year. They're going to have one of the best, if not the best records in the league. Usually the MVP is going to come from a team like that. I think that if you talk about the top statistical performers from that team, again, Yordan Alvarez probably going to be your guy. But because, the MVP has evolved now, it's not just, he hit 30 home runs and he drove in 100 runs. There's your MVP and he hit 300. It's not like that anymore. It's about being a more complete player. And I think that Kyle Tucker, like when you're talking about a Yordan Alvarez, you're not going to bring defense into that equation. You're going to be talking about strictly offense and weighted runs created plus and OPS plus and all that. But with Kyle Tucker, you're going to be having the conversation about where is he amongst the wins above replacement leaders? Where is he in the conversation of the most complete player to come from the most complete team? And I think at the end of the year, you will be having that conversation.
Yeah, so what do you have? 30 homers, 25 steals last season. Currently, Jared, plus 2,500 on the DK Sportsbook to win American League MVP. Your hottest take for the American League West. What do you have for us? What is cooking up there between the ears right now, Big Ben?
So my hottest take for the American League West this year, it's kind of a series of events that culminates with my hot take. So I'll tell you what I think is going to happen. We've already heard Mike Trout say or plead, we want Shohei Ohtani to stay here. And I think what's going to happen, because the Angels are a stupid, dumb organization, they're going to be out of it by the All-Star break. They're not going to trade Shohei Ohtani because in their dumb, stupid little brains, they think that they still have a chance to retain him in free agency. So they're not going to trade him because they know if we trade him, then that dramatically decreases the odds that he'll come back to us in free agency. So they're not going to trade him. They're not going to get any assets for him. This in itself is going to greatly upset Mike Trout. So not only will they lose Shohei Ohtani to free agency at the end of the year, once the season has concluded and we get to the offseason, we will hear rumors, reports that Mike Trout will be demanding a trade from the Angels once Shohei Ohtani signs elsewhere. He's going to be done. If they don't keep Shohei Ohtani, which they won't, that's going to be the straw that breaks the camel's back for Mike Trout in Anaheim.
And somehow, some way, Shohei or Ohtani or Mike Trout will end up on the Padres, right?
Yeah, that'd be cool. I mean, I think
How the hell do they do that?
The Dodgers are going to look at, especially if the Padres win the World Series this year, which I think, we'll get to that at some point, what my predictions are for who's going to make it to the World Series, but I got the Padres there. It's just a little secret.
Okay, a little teaser-uno.
If the Padres win the World Series this year, then the Dodgers can be like, oh, that's nice. We're just going to go out and sign Shohei Ohtani, and maybe we'll flip a trade from Mike Trout, take on his salary. Like, that's a scenario that would be nightmare fuel for the rest of the league.
All right, spring training plans. What do you got? Are you going anywhere? Are you guys taking the podcast on the road, or are you just hanging out there in your mansion of a house?
So I am going to Florida on Saturday. I'll be down in Fort Myers until March 3rd. And then I believe on the 11th, I will be going to Arizona with Dallas, Joseph, Jake, the whole crew. So I'm doing Red Sox for a week, taking a little breather, then doing Arizona for a week. And we'll be bringing you content on all the social
Okay.
channels. We'll be grabbing some interviews. We'll be doing some gambling content, and I'm very excited because the Massachusetts launch is upon us, Emerson. I don't know if you know this, but we're going to be throwing a couple of parties here coming up. I believe on the 10th and the 18th, we're going to be doing some stuff.
Okay.
And I'll be there. Will you be there?
I am going to be there because you just invited me.
I can't wait. I'm very excited.
I'm very excited. I'm excited for it too. Billy's behind the roaming camera here in the studio. Says he's going with you to Arizona.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, we're sharing a room. Yeah.
What?
Yeah, we got.
All
one
right.
cool
I
side.
spent a lot of time in his room when we were out in Arizona for the Super Bowl. He's a clean guy. He's a clean guy. He has a lot of
Some would
snacks.
say the cleanest.
All right. Good stuff, Billy. Thanks, Jared. Appreciate you, man.
Thank you, guys.
Everybody, you can listen to Jared and his crew. Go find him in the DraftKings podcast section or whatever section that is. Baseball is Dead podcast. He does it with Dallas Braden, who we mentioned already in his A's plus 20,000 there to win the division. But here's a recent taste. Here's a taste of a recent episode here where the guys discuss the Rangers' big offseason acquisition, Jacob deGrom. So listen to this.
It's day one. It's report day. And it's not odd that you might feel something, a little awkward, whatever he's been throwing, and now he just feels a little something. That's completely normal. That is completely normal. I know the ears perk up, the eyes widen because it's Jacob deGrom. And we've been talking about, do you get a full season of him? And so that's why eyes widen and ears perk. But the idea that we've already assessed, it's pitchers and catchers reporting day, but we've already assessed the injury to the point where he'd be pitching through this if it were June. That's no big deal. It's no big deal at all. Really? Would he? How many innings is he ready to roll right now? Oh, that's right. What, 1, 2, maybe 2? So he'd pitch through this? Stop it. Just stop. It feels like you're doing everything you can to get out in front of. It's not a big deal. It's not a big deal. Everybody chill out.
You have to do that.
What?
I don't know that there was a ton of criticism that came the Texas Rangers way. I mean, obviously, some people criticize it by saying that we use the term reckless in terms of the commitment that the Rangers made to Jacob deGrom. They probably came in hotter than any other team on the market that was interested in signing deGrom. But you make a commitment like that, both financially and long-term in terms of the years, and day one, you got something barking at you. Yeah, you're going to be doing damage control. There's probably people in that front office that are already freaking out about, we did this with a dude that has a pretty sizable injury history. And now day one, you're rolling this guy out there and you've got to say, all is well. It's just a little tug here. But yeah, Mets fans are sitting there saying, we've been there and we've done that. Joe, you can speak to this as being a huge Mets guy. They are probably looking at this saying, good fucking luck. We know what this means. We know what, he would pitch through this if it were the regular season. It's only a little injury and he'll be fine in a couple of days. Mets fans know what that means.
I'll tell you.
It's I don't know is this a deGrom thing or just we pay attention when it's deGrom, but he's the king of it's nothing, but you know what I mean?
We'll be back in June. We'll see you in June.
That's it. It's not that he's the king of it. That's been a narrative surrounding him his entire career. So the king of it is one thing. Sure, you can call him the king of it. This is, for better or worse, what his career has been colored with. Right? That is what it is. Injury speculation. How much are we going to get out of this dude? Because you saw the flash of a healthy season, you're like, well, this is the best thing going. This is the best thing that baseball has going on the mound when it's healthy. So otherworldly, but you only got that once.
All right, it's time to talk to a couple other members of our audio empire, hosts of the Gojo podcast. That would be Mike Golick Jr. and Brandon Newman. Good morning, Mike. How are you?
Good morning, Emerson. I'm good. How are you, buddy? I already miss you.
I miss you a lot. Brandon Newman, I miss you a lot as well. How are you?
I'm doing well, Emerson. I'm happy to be here with you. Missing Jessie, obviously.
Yeah, she's sick, or she's fake being sick because she just moved into a new house. I'm sure she's just getting settled in. Anywho, Brandon, I want to start with you officially becoming a trailblazer. What made you want to go to Waffle House this morning and treat it like a Starbucks? That was incredible. It blew my mind.
Thank you, E. I just was. I had a long day today. I fly to Mexico early tomorrow morning, so I wanted to get a good start. So I was at Waffle House at 5 a.m. just working on the podcast and ordering food for myself, and then I got some orders to go for my family.
Oh, wow. What are you going to be doing in Mexico?
I'm marrying some friends of mine. So
What?
yeah,
Oh.
to be my third wedding officiant, and I do these things.
Oh.
So what Brandon's not telling you, Emerson, is this is his third time doing it, but one of the last times, two of his friends that we visited with during Radio Row at the Super Bowl, Brandon actually spelled the groom's name wrong on the marriage license, and so now they are not legally married still. So Brandon, I hope you have brought a pen that has an eraser on the back for this, just in case.
Got to bring the pencil back, Brandon. Come on.
So this is my I've done 2.5 weddings. This is the first full one.
Wait, so are the first two couples you married, are they still married?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm not going to say their names.
No, you don't have. You don't have to.
Last names.
You probably pronounce them wrong anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, man, that's great. My dad's 2 for 2 as well, man. So congratulations. I know it's a big deal. Let's dive into what's cooking around the NFL here, guys. Franchise tag season's here. I know you both talked about it. I was listening to it on the podcast the other day. So if you're the Giants, between Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley, Mike, which guy are you tagging? Which one are you giving a contract to?
Well, it depends on what you believe, but let's operate under the guys that were hearing those reports that Daniel Jones wants somewhere in the area of $45 million a year on this contract. If that's the case, I would franchise tag Daniel Jones, risk, hey, maybe playing another year, figuring out if he's our guy long term, and in the meantime, having the opportunity to come together on a deal that's closer to a number you like. And I would try and get to work on signing Saquon Barkley to a deal that's not a market-setting contract, and we haven't heard anything out of his camp that indicates he wants to be in that Christian McCaffrey range or expects to be. So if you could get him in the Derrick Henry-esque range, these are both guys, important foundational elements of a team that's trying to build off their success from last year.
All right, Brandon, if he really wants around $45 million a year, how bumpy do you expect negotiations to get here?
I don't think he actually wants 45 million. So I do think the negotiations are actually going to go smooth. I think he's setting the market of what he potentially could make at one point in time in his career, 1 year, but it's not going to be this next year. And the Giants know it. I think he's heading to a franchise tag and he'll be happy there. And he's going to continue to prove that it's a dual threat quarterback league, and he's one of the best out there doing it.
Well, things are already bumpy between Lamar, that's your guy, Brandon, and the Ravens here. They're expected to tag him. They can't come to some agreement here on a long-term deal. Reportedly would not stop a trade from happening, though, even if they were to franchise tag him. So if Jackson is shipped out of Baltimore, Brandon, which team would you like to see go get him?
Honestly, it's the easy pick. It's the one everyone's talking about, the Atlanta Falcons. I would just love to see Lamar Jackson in the home that Michael Vick built, especially with the Kyle Pitts right there and then Drake London. That defense probably isn't as good as he's used to having, but maybe that means he's on the field a little bit more and he's got to eat them apples. So I would like to see him there. I think Tennessee might be foolish enough to get him, but I think it's going to stop there. All those other quarterbacks out there, or franchises out there, are looking at those other two quarterbacks in Aaron Rodgers and Derek Carr.
I mean, hell, I love that idea, Mike. The NFC South is wide open now with Tom Brady's retirement.
That's why the one that would be interesting to me, and I just saw an article that was kind of explaining the teams that would have the resources necessary to go out and get Lamar Jackson if he was on that non-exclusive franchise tag. And one of the names that popped up is also in the NFC South, and that's the Carolina Panthers.
Ooh.
Much better defense, a hyper-aggressive owner in David Tepper, who has been searching and going back to the well constantly to try and get the quarterback of his future. It screams a move that particular owner would try and go to. And at this juncture where you feel like you're starting to get more comfortable down the stretch, some improvements that we saw on that team under Steve Wilkes, wouldn't surprise me, and actually I think would give him, to Brandon's point, a much better defense early on in a division that's wide open.
Yeah, but Atlanta's got that tight end, some guy who was extremely disappointing in fantasy last year but has potential. Kyle Pitts, that could be his Mark Andrews too, Mike.
It absolutely could be. Listen, what we saw Arthur Smith do with Marcus Mariota last year in that offense has everyone excited about what the possibility of a guy like Lamar Jackson with that skill set could do in the same situation. It would be video game numbers. And so, yes, that would definitely be exciting overall. It just feels like the Falcons might be a little bit further away from the prize than the Panthers at this point. And if you're Lamar Jackson and you've got some sort of say in this, how much of a step back production-wise do you want to take when you've been used to being a playoff team almost every year that you've been in Baltimore?
Yeah. Brandon, give me your boldest Aaron Rodgers prediction right now for whenever he emerges from this darkness retreat.
I think he's going to stay in the darkness and go with the black hole out there in Las Vegas. With the Raiders. It just makes the most sense. I feel like Aaron Rodgers needs to go to a team that is close to sniffing the playoffs. I don't think the Jets could really afford that on their Christmas wish list. But I think obviously Devontae Adams is already there, Josh McDaniels, and what he's been able to do with Tom Brady. I just feel like the sexy answer, the obvious answer is out there in Las Vegas.
All right, Mike, what do you got here, dude?
Well, boldest take would be that Aaron Rodgers comes out and decides to run for public office. That seems like it would be very in line with the trajectory that we've seen from him. Leave football behind and run for public office. But if I had to go with the funniest possible football outcome at this point, it would still be Aaron Rodgers to the New York Jets, which people have long rumored. But it would be funnier because we had the report yesterday, I believe, from Diana Rossini at ESPN that Derek Carr on his Jets visit said that the Jets made it super personal and said, we believe if you come to New York and win, you could be a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Wow.
So to go with that level of heavy flirting in New York with Derek Carr and then have the reminder that there are levels to this and that if Aaron Rodgers did want to come there, I'd imagine they'd take him first would be the wildest outcome given what's gone on in the last couple of days.
I mean, Brandon, don't you think like right now, like Aaron Rodgers holds like all the cards. All these other teams are kind of waiting for the decision that he makes, right, to make the next move?
Yeah, but with those cards, he pissed off where he actually lives right now with the Green Bay Packers. And I think that's a little bit of a dumb decision for him because of all the teams that are ready to win now, it may be the Packers.
Okay. Speaking of dumb, a lot of people thought the NBA All-Star game and just the weekend in general was quite dumb, minus the slam dunk contest, of course. You guys discussed on your podcast, NBA All-Star Weekend kind of falling flat, or maybe it was just the game, but hook us up with an idea, your best idea to fix it, Mike.
All right, well, in actuality, I don't believe there's a way to fix it unless the players start to actually give a damn about being in the game and playing in the game anymore. That's where this comes down to. But if you want an idea, I will give credit. My buddy Kyle Banduho, Big Screen Sports Movie Podcast, awesome listen. He threw this out, and I think this is the best content idea in the history of sports media. You have the Inside the NBA crew play Monopoly with real money.
What?
Yes.
No, because they could, dude, I'm sorry.
Shaq,
No.
the Jet, Ernie, all playing Monopoly with real money.
You can't, the game will
Thousands
never
of dollars.
end. The game will never end. I'm still trying to finish a game of Monopoly from like 1988. I'm sorry.
It'll end in a fist fight. It'll end in the best way possible. Shaq and Chuck already tried to fight each other during the player intros of the All-Star game and were probably the most entertaining part. So yes, you do the All-Star draft like we saw. You do it in order so that someone's picked last and not insulting our intelligence, and then you don't actually play the game. You just put them in a room and you let Ernie try and keep the world from burning in Park Place.
I'm not watching that. I'm not watching that at all, Brandon, because the only thing worse than playing Monopoly is watching a game of Monopoly.
Yeah, I don't know if that's the solution at all. I do think money is the solution, though, E. I think if you make it so every person in the All-Star game gets $1,000 per point that they score.
Oh, yeah.
And $2,000 for every point that they take away from the other team, turn into a video game, like you got your own creative player. I think that raises the stakes. Imagine Jason Tatum walking away with $55K. And then probably even more for whatever defense he played. Like, we have to get the real money. And if maybe it's like, okay, they don't want them to get their salary because those rich guys are already their foundation, which is just, that's their offshore account.
Yep. Listen.
Did you just accuse them of money laundering through their charity?
Listen. Whatever. It's a tale as old as time, Brandon. Money talks. Go back to East. Just go back to traditional East-West. throw some money perks in there, absolutely. And you'll get the guys to wake up. Bonus question, though. Who wins a title? Who's more likely to win a title this year? Is it going to be LeBron with the Lakers or going to be Tiger Woods winning a major? Mike.
I mean, I could see Tiger getting hot for a weekend. You go down to Augusta. He knows the course really well. We saw for the most part the Genesis Invitational. He looked like outside of that last round, he was moving around better than we expected. And I could probably see that before I see this Lakers team being able to hold it together for that long. I could see them maybe winning a playoff series, but winning a title seems far out of reach at this point.
Whoa.
Oh, go ahead, Lakers guy.
This Lakers team, doesn't this Lakers team look brand new after the free agency moves they made? I believe Anthony Davis is disgruntled and needs to prove himself so he can get moved next year. And obviously we have the storybook all-time score leading that LeBron James just did. Talking about looking good. Until he messed his finger up on that rim, LeBron James has looked amazing in this year 19. And I think if anyone makes a playoff push, with Steph Curry hurt in the West and Kevin Durant trying to make his way through to the Suns, I feel like it's wide open in the West. And I think I like LeBron James winning a championship this year over Tiger winning another another tournament this year.
Okay. Lakers plus 155 on the DK Sportsbook to make the playoffs. Favorite, though, is to miss at minus 195 odds. We'll talk about that with Nick Friar here in studio coming up. Before you two get out of here, hook me up with your Gojo Rose of the Week, Mike. Who or what gets it?
Well, I have to go with our guy Trey Smith that came on the podcast with us the other day. It was as beefy as we had been in quite some time. And I think if anyone didn't get a chance to listen to it, especially young football player out there, Trey Smith talking about how he had his youth football coach pull him aside and essentially saying, you're being too nice out on the field. And Trey looked around and saw the guys that were getting opportunities at the next level, playing with that edge, going out and dominating their opponent, and what it's allowed him to become now, which is a Super Bowl champion and one of the best young offensive linemen in the NFL. I'm frothing at the mouth and fired up just thinking about it. So he gets a very big, beefy rose for the week.
Love it. What about you, Brandon?
I got to stay on the basketball court. I could give it to Pat Bev for, getting away from the Lakers and claiming to end their playoff run, but I got to give it to Russell Westbrook, a guy who came in, did what he was supposed to do, got moved to the Utah Jazz. We know his history there in Utah, and then gets a chance to get bought out and sign with the Clippers, a team that actually has a chance to win an NBA title this year. Russell Westbrook winning his first title with Kawhi Leonard and Paul George at the helm. I like that story.
Brandon, safe travels to Mexico. Good luck. Hope you're able to spell everybody's name right on the marriage certificate.
Thanks, Emerson.
All right, everybody. Mike, we'll see you later too, dude. Make sure you go download the Gojo podcast right now. Drops every weekday morning. The guys are absolutely freaking hilarious. Grab the show wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. Spotify, Apple, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio app, and every Wednesday morning here on The Sweat. I'm glad Mike brought up their conversation with Trey Smith, because here's a little bit more from the recent Gojo episode with him. They're talking about the offensive line's dominant performance there against the Eagles, and of course, who eats the most.
What you guys have done is pretty amazing. I mean, before the 2021 season, essentially your entire offensive line came together in one offseason in one way or another, through the draft, through free agency, through trade. How have you guys been able to gel so quickly and become one of the best lines in the league, especially with how many young players, including yourself, you guys have there?
Yeah, I think it starts from the top bottom. First off, hats off to our front office. Brett Veach being able to find the players and the talent to come in here and get it done. And then it's a testament to the coaching job Andy Heck, Corey Matei, and offensive staff has done, to make sure we play on a high level and get our technique and different things that they teach us. But ultimately, it did take time for us to gel. Last season we had our ups and downs, and then now, bringing it all together, it's really a bond. It's a brotherhood. I love each and every one of my guys in the O-line room. I mean, we got so close. We know our tendencies, habits, eating habits as well. So it's been a great process coming together.
What are the eating habits here? Like, take me through this offensive line room and how each guy gets down at the dinner table. What do we got here?
Yeah, so I'm gonna catch the most flack if you ask anybody else. I'm sort of a machine. Wings are the go-to. I'll put down wings like nothing, man. We just have some heavy eaters in the O-line. Every O-line room has some heavy eaters, but we definitely got some in ours.
Is Creed one of the heaviest eaters? Just looking at him, he looks like such a good old boy. I feel like he's got to be able to put in work.
Yeah, Creed's an absolute unit. One is Allegretti, Nick Allegretti. He's underrated on that. Yeah.
Allegretti, didn't he catch a touchdown too? Am I mistaken on that one? Okay.
Yeah, he got one last year. Yep.
See, that was what I kept hoping for in the Super Bowl with you guys, because one of the things that with your guys' line and the Eagles line that I kept saying to people was, you've had both of these units together on the field all season long. And so to have that kind of continuity gives you time to get in the coach's ear and actually try and ask about were any of you guys fishing for a ball in the Super Bowl? Were you trying to convince Andy or Eric that you needed to throw one of these big boy touchdowns?
No, we don't. That's one of the really cool things about this staff. We don't have to ask. When your time comes, they'll draw you up one. But I mean, it's awesome playing for this offense. It's an absolute blast every time. And when you get a big man touchdown like Nick did last year, there's no better feeling than that, man.
Everybody eats. The whole room scores with him.
This week, the PGA Tour heading to South Florida, the PGA National for the Honda Classic this week. This is one of the toughest golf courses on the PGA Tour. Sepp Straka, your defending champion, he's going to tee it up again tomorrow. Weaker field than last week and the week before that and next week and the week after that. But we do have a DFS contest on DK for the tournament, including our $1 million pitch and putt contest. So 6 golfers, draft them, stay under the salary cap, take a shot at $1 million in prizes. $250K to the first place champion, $20 to enter. Go check it out in the DK lobby right now. You need some help building those lineups. Don't panic. Don't freak out. We bumped up Len Hochberg to our 11:30 window here. He is joined also by Jeff Ulrich, floating somewhere out there for PGA Tour price check. There he is. Hey, pal. All right. M or Lowry? So we have 3 top 20 golfers in this tournament. Of course, one of them, Jeff Ulrich, Billy Horschel. But M or Lowry, the only guys over 10K, which dude would you rather have?
I mean, look, it's got to be Sungjae Im. I mean, you know that he's going to be in a lot of lineups this week, but Sungjae Im is just a complete quality player. I mean, Im is the type of player who we've already seen, runner-up finishes at the Masters. He's won this event before. Lowry is great. He's obviously a major championship winner, but at this point on the PGA Tour, what do we see from Sungjae Im? He competes against elite fields. He wins against weaker fields. I mean, this is a player who's only 10,700 this week. I mean, he should be over 11K pretty easily. So, you don't need to be fearful necessarily of rostering Sungjae Im just because everyone else is going to be. There's plenty of ways to get unique, and I really don't hate rostering both of these players in the same lineup. I think that's one way to just sort of start with an original lineup and still get both of these players, in your DFS rosters. So Sungjae Im would definitely be it for me. I think that with only a $300 price difference, that is exactly where I would lean. He's a great setup for these style of courses. He's got the all-around game. He's a great bunker player. You just got to find other ways down the lineup, and Len and I will give you some plays to get some lower ownership.
All right. What do you think about that strategy, going with both of them, Len?
Well, I hadn't really thought about going with both of them, but yeah, I could see that, and I agree with Jeff completely that Sungjae Im is the play. Look, the field isn't great this week, but if you're a fan of carnage, if you're a fan of balls going in the water, this is your dream week on the PGA Tour. So we are looking for golfers who are conservative, who are boring, and with all due respect, nobody more boring than Sungjae Im. That's why he's won here. That's why he's finished 8th here. I mean, granted, he's also had only weak fields to contend with. But, there's also a reason why Sungjae Im has never been in the top 15 in the world. And that always strikes me as so odd. He is so conservative, and he really needs to take a little bit more risk to get into the upper echelon of golfers. But that's not our concern this week.
No, it's certainly not. Let's go with the 9K range here. A few dudes that kind of stand out. I mean, Matt Kuchar's there, Billy Ho, Chris Kirk, Jeff Ulrich. Who is your golfer du jour in the 9K range for the Honda Classic?
I know you're trying to make Billy Horschel happen this week, but I mean, it's not going to happen when it's my turn to talk. We're going to go with Chris Kirk. Look, we're running out of options in this 9K range. I mean, Alex Noren has withdrawn. This is going to be a heavily owned range as well. And, you've got some players in here who are very, very interesting or coming in. Some of them are coming in with okay form. Some of them are coming in with really good form. But Chris Kirk at 9,900 strikes me as the type of player who, again, if you start your lineup with Sung J M, I think that going with Chris Kirk next is actually going to give you a very unique build. Not many people want to pay 9,900 for Chris Kirk. He is a little bit overpriced. Even in this field, he's a little bit overpriced. But what have we seen from him? Elite iron play so far. He's getting over 4 strokes on approach in 2 of his last 3 starts. And they were starts at courses that very similar to this. Par 70 at Wailea, obviously the TPC Stadium, and another, lots of water in that environment. Target Golf. Chris Kirk was T7 at this event last season. He has been trending really well. And, I think that Len brings up a good point. Like him, Kirk is actually a very conservative player. He knows what his strengths are. He's good around the greens. If his putter gets hot, he can compete in fields like this. And he's probably not going to blow up your lineup. Yeah. If he does get hot with that putter, he can certainly win this event as well. So 9,900, I like Chris Kirk the most. This is going to be a range where, again, you're probably going to see some carnage because not all these guys are going to make the cut, but a lot of them are going to have a lot of big ownership.
I mean, Jeff, he drives it so dang straight, which is an absolute weapon out there. Like at PGA National, I agree, maybe a little high price. Maybe his salary is a little too much, so maybe placement odds are more reasonable over on the DK Sportsbook. But Len, who would you like to go with here in the 9K range?
Yeah, I'm with Kirk as well, and I won't take too much time on him because Jeff really covered it. But I will say one thing that caught my eye this week about Chris Kirk is that he is third on tour in putting from 10 to 15 feet. There will be a lot of putts from 10 to 15 feet this week for par. There will be a lot of putts this week from 10 to 15 feet for bogey. Chris Kirk is going to make more than most guys, and that could save you your lineup for the weekend. Aaron Wise, 9,200. His ball striking not as quite as good as in past years. His putting is much better. Top 20 in putter, also top 20 in bogey avoidance. A very conservative golfer. Wouldn't expect that from Aaron Wise. And lastly, Thomas Dietrich at 9,000. Very interested to see what the Belgian can do in a weaker field. There are only 8 guys on the DK Sportsbook with shorter odds than Thomas Dietrich, but he has made 14 straight cuts on the PGA Tour. He's also top 15 in bogey avoidance. He'd be the number 2 rookie of the year right now, right behind Taylor Montgomery. Still might catch him by the end of the year.
Yeah, and making cuts, that's kind of crucial in DFS. We need you guys to stick around for the weekend. Been hanging around 30th place in his last 4 starts. 8K range, Len. This is where we're going to find defending champ Sepp Straka. Who do you want?
Yeah, I was surprised to see Adam Svensson this low. I mean, I would definitely see him in the 9,000s this week. He's 8,700, not even 89. He's 8,700. He was 9th last week at Riviera. The thing about Adam Svensson that hurts him the most is his distance. So to see him play so well on a long course and now come to a short course, I like that a lot. He was 9th here last year. He also played PGA National back in 2015, won the web.com Q School. So he's very familiar with this course and has had success here as well. And 8,300, Adrian Maronk, the golfer, not the TV detective, the number 1 golfer ever from Poland. He was 45th on a sponsor invite last week at Riviera. Very impressive, 20th in the field in tee to green. He also won the Australian Open in December, ran away with it. Cam Smith in the field, Adam Smith in the field. He won it by 5 shots. This guy has game. We're going to see him this week, maybe in the Ryder Cup, but certainly we're going to hear more about Adrian Maronk.
All right, you're going to find JT posted in this range too here, Jeff. 4 made cuts and 5 appearances at PGA National. Has a damn good resume too on courses that have a boatload of water on it.
It's true. He hasn't looked so good of late. His approach numbers are down a little bit. I actually think Poston's a pretty good fade here. I like fading most of the chalk in this range. I think you're going to see ownership condensed. Poston, Johnny Vegas, Svensson. Of those 3, Svensson is the guy I would probably have the most confidence in as well. Len laid it out extremely well why. I do like taking some shots in this range, though. Like, Cam Davis has looked pretty bad of late. But, when it comes to Cam Davis, it's usually just 1 or 2 things. The A game is usually not far. This is a player who grabbed his only PGA Tour win coming off a T45 and a missed cut. So the talent is always there. And we have seen him pop up. Tee to green, he can absolutely, come around PGA National, just drive it, 300 yards dead straight for a week and just light it up with the irons. So is it extremely volatile? Yes. Will Cam Davis at 8,100, though, if he makes the cut, is he probably going to get you more points than a lot of players in this range? Yeah, he is. So I think that the risk reward with Cam Davis is actually there now. In past weeks, when we've seen him against elite fields and there's been other players out there with good birdie rates, yeah, maybe not the greatest time, but he's way down at 8,100 in this field. If he gets that weekend and he gets in contention, he's going to put up a lot of DraftKings points on a week where there's just not many points to be had. So I do like Cam Davis down there. I don't mind Garrett Hago down there at 8K, and I don't mind Christian Bezuidenhout as well at 8,200. Those are three players I just don't think going to have a ton of ownership. And like I said, I like fading most of the chalk in the 8K range.
All right, 3 consecutive missed cuts for him, though, but that has his salary lower than what his upside is, which is what you just explained. Let's combine 7K and the 6K ranges here, guys. So give me a good value play here. Lower on the board, Jeff.
I like Aaron Rai a lot this week, 7,700. He went and followed Tiger Woods for 9 holes. As I said on Twitter, that's probably worth 5 strokes just watching him play. Aaron Rai sets up extremely well for this course. His around the green game has been good. He's never, but he's straight off the tee. He's not going to get in trouble. He's a player who's got a lot of confidence. Tour before 7,700, like him. Dylan Fratelli at 7,100, really good value. He's played decent golf T14 in Phoenix. And then lower down, look, we can take some shots this week, people. Jonas Blick, 6,300. Jason Duffner, 6,600. Just a couple guys that I don't mind, especially if you're going major stars and scrubs with like Sungjae and Chris Kirk at the top.
Len, between 7K and 6K, low on the board, who's your top golfer?
Yeah, 2 guys popped out at me in the mid-7s. Hayden Buckley at 7,600, Will Gordon at 7,500. Both ranked top 10 on tour in ball striking. Hayden Buckley was second at the Sony. Wailea, another tight track. Gordon 13th in greens and regulation. 6,900, Kramer Hickok. He had missed 8 straight cuts until playing Riviera last week. Found himself on Sunday with Tiger Woods. Not too shabby. Ended up beating Tiger by 3 shots. His stats are better than 8 straight missed cuts. Ben Martin at 69, Dylan Wu at 66, and Tyson Alexander at 64. He's 174th in the world. I don't know why he's that low. There are other guys in that price range, 300th in the world, 400th, 500th. I think if you're going to go under Alexander, not a bad way to go.
All right, you two are phenomenal. Jeff, we'll see you tonight, 5 o'clock Eastern time for a Wednesday edition of The Slate. The third member of that show tonight will be joining me in studio. Coming up next, Nick Friar, here to dish out some second half NBA betting and DFS plays. So stick around.
Wow. Nice finish.
With DraftKings Daily Fantasy Sports, you can play for millions with a lineup full of big NBA stars. Maybe you throw in a three-point specialist that's been around the league, seen a thing or two. You know, if you want. Download DraftKings and play for your share of millions. Action's so good, why play NBA anywhere else?
$200 instantly. Just for betting $5. DraftKings, listen to me. Now, I appreciate you recognizing how valuable my time is. But instantly?
Bet just $5 to get 200 in bonus bets instantly. Action's so good, why bet NBA anywhere else?
You know, betting without a game plan is a little like skating a giant ramp without helmet and pads. I wouldn't risk it. And I wouldn't bet without a game plan. DraftKings Sportsbook provides you with tools to set a realistic budget and time limits, so you're ready to bet responsibly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook and Casino apps to learn more about how you can practice safe bets.
This season, DraftKings Sportsbook is your place to bet on the greatest sport on ice. There's so many ways to get closer to the game. And with this latest offer, you can win big. Now that is deserving of some victory stick taps.
Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app, sign up with the promo code, and take advantage of this great offer.
And get in on the action with an official sports betting partner of the NHL.
DraftKings, you did it. I didn't think an NBA game could possibly get any more exciting. DraftKings was like, yo, hold my same game parlay. So I stacked the get off me with a split splash, baby, and finished with, I'm a grown man, Because with DraftKings same game parlays, you can turn that's money into that's money. Get a no-sweat NBA same game parlay up to $10 with DraftKings Sportsbook. Action so good, why bet anywhere else? I call it game.
All right, second half of the NBA season. I mean, really, why are we calling it second half? Because like most of these teams, Nick Friar, have been through like 75% of their games.
Yeah,
right? That's why I think they should move the All-Star game up a little bit. A lot of these guys are focused on the second half, resting.
I mean, I don't really care. I mean, the All-Star game didn't even play. What happened this weekend?
I know. What God? It was just terrible. Anywho, so 9-game slate. The All-Star break will end. That will be tomorrow night. Let's get a little second half preview with you. Thanks for coming in studio. So
My
we got some
pleasure.
DFS and some sportsbook questions, but I want to start with some news from yesterday here. Hawks let go of their head coach, Nate McMillan. Why was now the right time to make that move?
Yeah, I was a little surprised by it because they are still very much in the playoff hunt. Right, they're in the 8th seed right now, so they'd be in the play-in tournament and have home court advantage to start things off. But I don't understand it from that lens, but at the same time, I totally get it because now this is your chance to expose the roster and see where the flaws are with the roster because you have 2 star players there now. Figure out what's going on around them, figure out where the issues are, because you would think, I mean, when they added DeJounte Murray in the offseason, I was like, oh, this is going to be great. The Hawks are going to take the next step and everything like that. They got 2 studs there. John Collins is there, Clint Capella. You got a talented roster. Now it hasn't really translated so much, so the head coach is always the first thing to go. So you get rid of the head coach, make some adjustments in the front office too, and now maybe you bring in a Quinn Snyder or somebody else because there are a few options out there.
Yeah, he's rumored to be the favorite. Right
exactly. So go from there, and then but this gives you a chance to see, okay, these are the flaws with the roster. They're all these guys are going to get exposed.
I know injuries are an issue for all of these teams and whatever sport you want to look at, but Atlanta, for real, just has not been able to stay healthy. And you look at this roster, it's a playoff level talent. Like up and down, despite its record not indicating that. Anywho, DFS players. Give me a DFS player or multiple players here that we should be watching out for ahead of the second half. Don't give me Kevin Durant.
No, why would I give you Kevin Durant? I care more about value in this instance.
There you
right?
go. I like that about you.
So, like, thanks. So Mason Plumlee is a guy who I've talked about quite a bit in the first half of the season. Don't expect the same level of production from him throughout the course of the second half. At the same time, he was like 5.4K in his last game before the break, something in that range, and he provided like 22 DK fantasy points. I think he's going to give you a good floor. If he's in that 5K range, he's going to give you a good floor of production. But you also you know what his ceiling is. So if he's getting those extra minutes, and that's all it's going to come down to. If Ivica Zubac needs a break or somebody else needs a little bit of a break, then okay, then you're going to see that ceiling game. But he has a good floor. Mikal Bridges, I mean, obviously he popped off in that game right before the break. Again, a guy who is going to be it's going to be case by case with him, but also one of his teammates, Joe Harris. If he's going to continue to get that volume from 3 that he was getting right before the break, he's going to be a great value play in that 3K range. 4K range, if he's ever there, you got to be a little bit more picky with those.
Over on the DK Sportsbook, we got some win totals up right now. Which markets do you like here?
Well, I got an under and an over for you.
Cool,
and then we bring up the Nets. I'll just stay right there. 46.5 wins. Right now, I'm liking the under on that. They're the 5 seed, of course, as things stand. 34 wins at this point, 24 games left. They have the 7th toughest remaining schedule of all NBA teams. They need to go 13-11 for this over to hit. So I don't have any confidence in that, seeing how depleted their roster is and knowing how difficult their remaining schedule is. Then you look at the Cavaliers. It's set at 50.5 for them. They're the number 4 seed, so back-to-back in the standings. 38 wins for them, 21 games left. Oddly enough, they have to also win 13 games for the over to hit here. They need to go 13-8 at minimum for this to hit. But guess what? They have the 4th easiest schedule remaining. So on opposite ends of the spectrum, under for the Nets, over for the Cavaliers.
And we can't talk second half futures here without bringing up the Lakers because they've got this revamped roster. We had Brandon Newman on at the Gojo show earlier, and he's like, they are going to make the playoffs.
That's cute.
So they're plus 155 on the DK Sportsbook to make it, minus 195 to miss here.
Yeah,
I mean, going against Brandon.
I mean,
he's bigger than you.
Is he bigger than me?
Yeah, dude, he's huge. He used to play D line for crying out loud.
Okay, but I don't.
And Notre Dame.
I don't. Yeah, but see, Northwestern Notre Dame, we kind of got a thing, not from a football standpoint, just in
proceed
general.
with caution.
Okay, well, I know. I mean, look, they could. Will they make the play-in tournament? Yeah, probably. I could see that happening because you look at up to the 7th seed, they're only like 3 games back, or 3.5 games back, 6th place. So if they get that 6th place, yeah, okay, they're in. I mean, if you're a Lakers fan, you want something to like root for at this point in the year, sure, you can go with that, but you got to win the play-in tournament to get into the playoffs. And at that point, yeah, could they beat any of Golden State, Minnesota, New Orleans, if no Zion, or OKC? You know, there's some other teams in the mix too. Maybe, but I think it's such a maybe, and I don't have any confidence right now. So no, I would say no at this point. I don't think it's worthwhile. But also, like you can't. There's no value in saying no to bet on that player.
All right, you mentioned earlier you're a value guy. So where is the value here on awards? And I'm not talking MVP and rookie there because those two are basically locked in now with. What, Jokic, minus 250 to pull off the three-peat, and then Banchero sits at minus 1,000 for rookie.
I'm not done with Joel Embiid in his case. He's second in the standings. Yes.
Interesting.
Well, I mean, how are you going to keep giving it to Nikola Jokic when I know that you only care about the regular season, but what have they done in
Seems
the
to be no
postseason?
recency. There's no recency bias or voter fatigue, I should say.
I mean,
because last year it would have been the same
but
case.
How many times have we seen guys three-peat as MVPs? 3 times.
Okay, so who was it? Was Bird one?
Bird was the last one, and then before that it was Wilt and it was Bill Russell.
Okay.
Okay, so apparently they were playing against plumbers like everybody wants to talk about
I
all the
love
time.
when people say
right?
that.
So,
I think plumbers are great.
Sure. Maybe we should have some on the shows next time. But I'm not going to go and hand it to Jokic just yet. I think Embiid can still, he has the case. He's knocking every single time. How are you going to justify voting for a guy for a third time when I get it, it's a regular season award, but still, what has he done in the postseason? They haven't done nothing at this point. I know Embiid and the Sixers haven't either, but still. So I'm not giving up on Embiid. I had him to start the year. The odds were a little bit better, but still plus 450. Most improved player is a tough one right now. You got Markkanen and you got SGA. I think SGA.
Markkanen?
Yes, I know you're a big Markkanen guy.
That's been my guy from day one.
Yes.
Every time you go against him, I said I think that's a mistake. He ends up going off and makes you look ridiculous.
Maybe we can have a friendly wager separately about this too. But I'm going with SGA over Markkanen just because I don't think that Utah's not going to make the play-in round. They're not going to make the postseason or the play-in round. I just think that they want to tank.
Yeah.
They're trying to rebuild and everything.
They don't need any more picks. Danny Ainge is doing the same damn thing he did in Boston. They have like 55 first-round picks over the next 4 years.
And what did that turn into in Boston? It's turned into a trip to the finals, and I know he was gone at that point.
They've had 2 picks that have ended up like working out. And it's Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, which are 2 very important picks, by the way.
Yes, exactly. How you like that in Brooklyn?
Very quickly here, season resumes tomorrow, 9-game slate. Which games do you have your eye on when it comes to betting?
Well, actually, I'm going to go to OKC, Utah. And I'm going to OKC on the money line. Look, you can take them as underdogs if you want, but OKC is 11-13 straight up as road dogs, and I get it. That's under 500, but still, when you look at what teams do on the road, that is actually one of the best records as road dogs straight up. And then Utah is only 11-10 straight up as home favorites.
All right. Love you, mean it. We got 5 o'clock edition of the slate tonight. You, me, and Jeff Ulrich. The boys will be buzzing. The boys will be having a good time, and we'll be buzzing again tomorrow morning when the sweat returns, 11 o'clock Eastern time. Adios. Let's go shoot our